Good morning everyone. In our today's video, we shall study about understanding law. It's lesson number 4 of your civics book. What is the meaning of understanding law? In every country or in every society, we need to follow some rules and regulations. And all these rules and regulations are known as laws. Now, in this chapter, we shall be discussing how these laws are generally made, who are the people to frame the laws, and what are the importance of these laws. Let's start. Members of the Constituent Assembly were agreed that there should be no arbitrary exercise of power in independent India. India was under the British rule, and during the British rule, the British, whatever law they made, all these laws were arbitrary. What is the meaning of arbitrary? It was already explained in history. Arbitrary means, we can say, where the laws support one group and disregard the others. So, when the members of the Constituent Assembly, they were framing the constitution of our country, they were agreed that in independent India, there will be no such arbitrary exercise of power. Means, equality should be given to all. They gave all the people equality before the law. The constitution of our country, there, the members of the Constituent Assembly, they tried to provide equality to each and every citizen of our country before the law. Whatever may be our social status, our economic status, our religious status, doesn't matter. All the people, they all are equal before the law. The law cannot discriminate between persons on the basis of their religion, caste or gender. As I already told you, that law is equal for all the people. The law cannot discriminate between persons on the basis of religion. Means, we can say, for Hindus different law, for Muslims different law, for Christians different law. It is not like that. Even for the upper caste and the lower caste, the same law exists, and even for the males as well as the females, the same law prevails. Every year, our representative pass several new laws and revise existing ones. With the passing of time, different laws should be changed or different new laws should be introduced. Well, now the next topic that we are going to study is here, how do new laws come about? Just before some time I told you that our elected representatives, every year they made some new laws and they revised the existing ones. What is the meaning of revise the existing ones? Suppose a law is there, but it has to be changed or some modification has to be made. That is done by our representatives. Now, how do new laws come about? The parliament, we already discussed about the parliament in our previous video, the previous chapter. The parliament plays an important role in making laws. It is the most important duty which is performed by the parliament for making the laws. It finds out the problems faced by the people and the issue is brought to attention. It is the duty of the members of the parliament to look after the people and to find out if the people are facing any problem because of the different laws which are made by the parliament, and if the members of the parliament finds that the people are facing because of an existing law, that issue should be brought to attention in the parliament, and thus the process of making a new law starts. That's the general system through which the process of making a new law or to change one existing law starts. Now let me explain this point with the help of one example. See, I have taken here Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. This is one new act which came into practice in the year of 2006. Now, question comes, how this law was generally made. First of all, you should know what is the meaning of domestic violence. Domestic violence refers to the injury or harm or threat of injury caused by an adult man, usually the husband, against his wife. I hope you have seen in the TV, in different serials or in the movies or even in the news channels, that the women, generally the wife, suffers lot of problem because of the dowry system or different other systems, that in her in-laws family, she is generally tortured by the husband or the other family members of the husband, and that violence which is generally created by the husband or his mother, father or brothers against his wife is known as domestic violence. It can be this domestic violence, it can be physical as well as it can be verbal abuse of the wife. And as you know, law is equal for everyone, but for both males and females. So this practice of domestic violence, it is against the interest of the constitution, and that's why throughout the 1990s the different women's groups raised the need for a new law to protect them from domestic violence. Throughout the 1990s, that women's group in different parts of our country, as well as the different other organizations, they felt that one new law needed to be introduced to stop the practice of domestic violence. In the year 1999, Lawyers Collective, a group of lawyers as well as law students and the different other social activists, after nationwide consultation, took the lead in drafting the Domestic Violence Prevention and Protection Bill. So what is given here? In the year of 1999, the different lawyers, law students as well as social reformers, they discussed over this issue and they finally filed one bill. What was the name of the bill? Domestic Violence Prevention and Protection Bill. This bill was filed in the year of 1999. This bill was widely circulated. Finally, the bill was introduced in the parliament in 2002. In the year of 2002, the bill, this Domestic Violence Prevention and Protection Bill, which was made in the year of 1999, it was introduced in the parliament in the year of 2002. In December 2002, in the same year, in 2002 December, the standing committee submitted its recommendation to the Rajya Sabha and also tabled in Lok Sabha. You know, if any bill wants to become a law, or we want to convert a bill to a law, it has to be passed to the Rajya Sabha as well as the Lok Sabha. So in December 2002, the standing committee of the parliament submitted this bill to the Rajya Sabha and even then to the Lok Sabha. Finally, a new bill was introduced in the parliament in 2005. So after 3 years, in 2002 the bill was introduced in the parliament. In the year 2005, a new bill, it was introduced in the parliament. After being passed in both houses of parliament, means in 2005 the bill was passed by the Rajya Sabha as well as the Lok Sabha. Then it was sent to the president for his assent. You know, if any bill has to become a law, it must be granted by the president of our country. So in the year of 2005, the bill was sent to the president for his approval. The Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act came into effect in 2006. Now, in the year of 2006, the President gave his approval, and finally, the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act came into effect in the year of 2006. Now, I think you have understood how a new law generally is made. When the people feel that they need a new law, they made the demand, then the members of parliament, they discuss about it in the parliament, they pass it to the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, and then finally it is generally sent to the president for his approval, and if the president signs, it becomes a new law. Now this new law, the new law means this Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, recognizes the right of women to live in a shared household. Means the new law, it gave order to the people that the women, generally the old women, they should be given opportunity to live in the shared household. Means they can live with their son, daughter-in-law in the same house. Even women can get a protection order against any further violence. If any women feel that there is chance of any further violence, they can get one protection order from the court or from the police, and also can get monetary relief to meet their expenses including medical cost. And even the women, they can get some monetary relief, or they will get some money to meet their different types of expenses including the medical cost. Now I hope it is clear how the new law generally made and how it is important for the people. Well, now we are going to study about the last part of this chapter, about unpopular and controversial laws. We already got how the laws are made and what is the importance of these laws. Now, sometimes it happens, it is not essential that always whatever laws will be made by the parliament or by the government will be beneficial for all the people. Sometimes a law can be constitutionally valid and legal, but it can continue to be unpopular and unacceptable by the people. Sometimes it can happen that the parliament made a law which one is constitutionally valid, means it is not against the constitution, and that's why that law can be treated as legal, but it can be continued to be unpopular, or it may not be accepted by the people. Why it is like that? Let's see. People have the right to criticize such law and force the parliament to change it. In case if the parliament frames a law which is not at all beneficial for the people of the country, at that time the people who are the real head of the country, you can say, because it is in the hand of the people to elect our representatives or to change them. So we or the people have the right to criticize such law which are not popular, and we can force the parliament to change the existing law. I have taken one example here. Various municipal laws making hawking and street vending illegal. You know that hawkers and the street vendors, what is the meaning of that? Hawkers, I think you know, the different types of people who sell different types of food items, like I think everybody, you have taken pani puri or the other things, they are the hawkers. And the system of hawking as well as street vending means the people who generally carry the different types of vegetables or fish and they sell on the street. It is generally made illegal by the municipal committees. No one will dispute the necessity for some rules to keep the public space open, and these hawkers and the street vendors, they generally use the public space, and we cannot deny that we need some public space free, because if the public space is free, people will get enough space to work, and that's why some people, they may agree that this hawking and street vending should be illegal. However, one also cannot deny that hawkers and vendors provide essential services cheaply to many people. No doubt, hawking and street vending, sometimes we feel that they are illegal, but at the same time we cannot deny the fact that we get a very essential service from these hawkers as well as the street vendors at a cheaper price. If you want to take some food in a restaurant, you have to pay more, but the same thing if we purchase from the hawkers, we shall be getting at a very cheaper price. The same thing applies with the street vendors. Moreover, it is also their means of livelihood. See, if we say that hawking and street vending should be banned, they are illegal. That means we are violating their fundamental right, because the right to livelihood is given to each and every person, and through this hawking or street vendings, they are earning their livelihood and they are managing their family. People who think that the law is not fair can approach the court. Here the point is given: if any person feels that a law which is made by the parliament is not fair or is not beneficial for him, or it is violating his or her fundamental right, he can always approach the court. The court has the power to modify or cancel laws if it feels or finds that they don't adhere to the constitution. And the court, we shall be discussing about the system of court in our next chapter. The court has the power to cancel any law or to order the parliament to change the existing law if it finds that it is violating the fundamental right or it is against the constitution. We need to remember that our role as citizens does not end with electing our representatives. See, the laws are made by the representatives which are elected by the people, but at the same time we should not forget only electing the representatives is not enough. We should criticize the work of the parliament and we can help them to perform their functions properly. After we elect our representatives, these elected representatives, they would be making the different laws for the country. At the same time, it is the duty of the citizen, it is our responsibility to criticize the different laws which are made by the parliament or the government, to see that the parliament or the government, they are not making such law which are generally violating the fundamental rights of the people, as well as which are not violating the different principles which are mentioned in the constitution. And in this way, the people through their elected representatives also can help in formation of the different types of laws. So that's about the chapter. You need to go through the video, you need to read the chapter, you need to underline the important points, and in case if any doubt is there, please clear it. Thank you very much.